Hi, and welcome to The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist, the show where I talk to a variety of people to promote progressive politics, left-wing philosophy, and critical thinking. Today I'm joined by my friend Chris Watson from the I did that last time too. The Postmodern Polymaths Podcast.
You're a disappointment to us all.
Well, I listened to Podunk Polymath for so long. That's still just what's in my head.
Yeah, Postmodern Polymaths, whatever. It does. Triple Po, I'll just keep that. That's, try to keep it. So if the show changes, I can still keep the, that's why I renamed
URL.
It. Yeah. Well, no, I had to actually buy another site registration because the old one was Podunk or Polymath, whatever. Anyway. So
I guess today we're going to talk about people who live in the South or people who are rural people, aka rednecks, and why, you shouldn't think that every redneck is a racist, or you shouldn't think that everybody that lives in the South is a redneck, or, all of that.
So just for the record, redneck came from the West Virginia coal strike. I can't remember. It was late 1800s. I can't remember. And they wore red bandanas. That's where the term rednecks. So
okay.
I've tried to excise that word from an insult because obviously they're not good enough to have that term. They're obviously not fucking awesome union type of dudes.
Right. The people who get called rednecks are not union workers who band together with solidarity with their class brothers.
Although, to be fair, nobody knows if black people would have been involved. That's a whole different issue. That's a whole different issue. It's of its time, I guess. So yeah, I've settled on cracker. I put out the call. I said, is this a gender neutral term? Because I wanted to make sure I was, had everything straight.
For sure.
And it was agreed that cracker is indeed a gender neutral term.
Nice.
So I shall be using cracker in place of redneck, although it will take a bit because I'm used to saying the other.
Okay. So what is it about, I guess, the term redneck that makes you want to stop using it that way?
Well, it's like I said, redneck was used, it was the guys who went on strike in the coal mine strike wore red bandanas in a show of solidarity. So I don't think redneck to me, it's a noble term now, right?
Right.
So I'm going to stop calling dumbasses who aren't even mildly worthy of a distinction. I shall be calling them crackers from now on.
What makes cracker an insult?
I actually looked this term up, and there doesn't seem to be of course, whip cracker. That's the common etymology, but then there's other ones. But basically, it was an insult for white people because, when you're getting whipped by every white person you see, even if you're not actively whipping them that second, you're still going to get called a whip cracker or whatever.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think, I've joked in the past that I'm a Canadian redneck, back, even when it was considered an insult, right? Because I'm from a rural area. I wonder, if we can somehow start using it, not in a, in a real way, to say, rednecks are people who have, class solidarity from the farms or from mining or whatever.
You're not getting it back. You're not getting that term back.
It's too late.
It's too late. That's what I'm saying. You're going to have to come up with new shit because it's redneck. That term is so embedded in the national consciousness. You're not getting that shit out easily.
No.
You're asking a word that originally was good to a word that is now bad back to a term that is good, man.
It seems like everything that I believe in seems to have that sort of thing. Socialism, anarchism, these are all words that I think are good, but that the common, like, colloquial meanings of them have been distorted and turned around into something else.
Well, that's a whole different thing. The word never changed definition. It was other people's interpretation of the word that changed. So,
well, I mean, one could argue that all language is like that, right?
I know that argument. Descriptive versus prescriptive, is that
even like libertarian? Like libertarians were anarchists back in the day, right? And
well, actually, there are left libertarians and right libertarians, right? Left libertarians are actually anarchists.
Yeah, exactly.
And I still disagree with both of them about people just doing the right thing automatically. But anyway, go.
But even right libertarians want to call themselves anarchists, right? Like they want to call themselves anarcho-capitalists.
No. Well, I guess technically
they want to.
I mean, whatever. I mean, you know, because they just anarchic in the original meaning. And again, a word that was changed to mean something completely different, where it just means chaos. That's not what anarchy means. It just literally means without a government, which can
it's
include
like
a
just no leaders is all it is, right?
Yeah, and there's also minarchist, you know, really small governments, as well as and there's different permutations and shit.
Yeah, anarchy is just simply without ruler. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. And libertarians certainly, until they need something, you know, and then all of a sudden they're fucking socialists, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, they love the corporations and they love the idea of private property so much still.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, do they not realize they're just licking one boot instead of the other?
No,
there are two
I don't
boots
think
on
they
the
do.
same body.
But I voluntarily work for my boss, he says, knowing that's bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the Jesus promise, love me or die, basically, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Work here or die, you know.
You can work for me or you can starve. It's up to you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could do crimes.
That's freedom. That's freedom, right?
Well, I mean,
yes.
Technically, yes.
One could do crimes and should.
Which, looking back now upon my enlightened viewpoint, I see why crime is so fucking prevalent. It's not because people are inherently criminal, I guess. It's because they are stripped of needs to live, right?
Yeah.
They have to resort to that because they're not getting paid shit. But
no, that's right.
They have to sell them their labor. Wage slavery.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So I guess back to the redneck thing, or like the Southern thing. Like what percentage or how many people do you think are in the South that would qualify as like a redneck in the good way?
Oh, in the good, see, you're confused. Okay. If you're talking about like actual,
how many are crackers versus how many are rednecks?
See, you're trying to make it okay. You can't just switch a word off and on like that, man. I'm high.
What?
Be trying to do that shit. So I see. It depends what your definition. Now, if we're just talking blue, then it's strictly Memphis and Nashville. And I don't know if any outlying counties of Nashville have flipped yet, but they're going to within the next 20 years, probably. Which will be a very big. Tennessee is going to become, well, of course, the whole South is going to eventually be like Georgia.
Right.
They'll go kicking and screaming, and they're already trying to do illegal shit. But
even Georgia's trying to do illegal shit right now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's voter suppression. It's not even that clever.
No, like what is it? That law they got now against you can't distribute water or food at the lines.
Yep.
For voting.
They already set up a legal fund. Lawyers are going to get, if anybody's ever arrested for that, there are lawyers who've said they'll pro bono represent them and shit.
Because it's so obviously unconstitutional, right?
I don't. And the timing of it's kind of stupid, to be honest with you, because they should have waited just before an election to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then it gets rushed through, and the Supreme Court's probably won't take it up until next session, and by then it's too late.
Yeah,
they won, right? So
instead, they did it right after an election, and now it has time to go through the whole process.
Fucking can't stand the thought of fucking black people And that's, I mean, Democrats are pretty evil now too, so I guess. But they're black and Democratic, right? So, like, it's double, right?
Right.
It's the whole notion of, well, when they get power, they're going to do the same thing we did to them, right? Which isn't going to happen, because if it was going to, it already would have.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm no fan of the Democrats by any stretch, but yeah, if they were going to try and eliminate voters, then they would have done that in the places they already control and don't have to worry about losing. They would have just made sure.
Yeah, I don't get I don't know. I guess it's easy it's hard for me to understand looking at something from a point of view that is at least, as neutral as a person can be. That it's just objectively the Democrats want, in whatever small way, which I don't know, this new package is pretty big. I don't know if they don't get behind procedures, whatever. They're wanting to improve people's lot, and I just don't. And what do they conservatives ever do except for make rich people richer? I don't.
Well, I mean, that's all. That's what their job is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, again, not that Democrats don't have their own lobbyists and their own fucking.
Oh yeah.
Everybody, we know that, right?
But that's literally what the Republicans' job is. Like, they work for the rich people.
And are we still fooling ourselves into thinking we're all embarrassed millionaires? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still are.
You think that? Well, I mean, it's not as the internet. I think is spreading information more. So even if most of the people start watching stupid shit and think, the QAnon's conspiracy is bullshit or is true. But again, that might also give someone who is not prone to be a complete fucking idiot, give them the information to be able to learn the opposite. Yeah. So, internet's a tool. It just depends on who's using it.
Yeah, that's right. Use it. Yeah.
Use it wisely. With great power comes great responsibility. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's right. Spider-Man.
Yeah, because that's so fucking original. I mean,
well, the phrasing in particular, I don't know. Yeah,
we love comic books. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right? Nope, that's right. The comic books are a whole new thing that I'm starting to see too much of, because the movies have been like so co-opted by like military culture, and I mean it was in a lot of the comics too, but just like a lot of that pro-military stuff, it's a little problematic. But
oh man, military is totally cool, bro. What are you talking about, man? They protect our freedoms, man. Love it or leave it, man.
Yeah. So
if we're talking about, like, I was talking about the South and Tennessee specifically, which we're going down the same path as ever in a quicker. Now they're trying. We have a trans hate bill. They just passed a carryless. You ain't got to have a permit and shit. I mean, they're trying to turn us into fucking Texas,
right? Yeah.
And this is gross. It's not even. And the governor's a spineless fuck anyway. He just does whatever they tell him to. He's a puppet. So at least have the balls for your convictions, man.
Who's the governor there?
Bill Lee.
Bill Lee.
His claim to fame was owning this huge, like, AC plumbing mega thing in Tennessee, right? So he's just basically a businessman who got drafted, because you can literally throw a potted plant as governor if it's a Republican, and he'll get elected. So I have some argument with Tennessee. These Democrats should try harder. That's what happens. They just won't even try, right?
Yeah, it's the same. It's the thing that used to be going on in Georgia, right? Too, like it was a red state, quote unquote, safe red state, and then it takes a lot of work to switch that over. But I mean, it seems like maybe that's worthwhile. I don't know.
Well, Stacey Abrams needs to get the Nobel Peace Prize or some shit. I don't know.
whatever the award is that you can give her.
Well, but the work she did to get, and it wasn't just her. Obviously, it was grassroots people that were coordinating different organizations, activist organizations and shit. But certainly she kind of was the spark that lit it, I guess.
Yeah.
So the dynamics going on in Georgia, I mean, God, and another thing, do you know how much extra work it is to fight to get to fight to vote when you're already at a disadvantage because they're taking away they're doing everything to sabotage your right to vote. So that makes it even harder. The fact that they won, even if it was by a little bit, was that the perseverance, man, that took to fucking. And I mean, it's just the right time for Georgia because Atlanta suburbs are just getting to the point now. The outlying counties are starting to go blue, and that's right. And it's not just Atlanta, Athens. I was surprised by some of these towns that were blue, actually. But Athens is a college town, I think.
That probably plays into it, yeah. So what else is redeemable about Tennessee or other southern states?
Well, one thing that I can say about Tennessee, at least, there's great view, great scenery, great nature and shit. All right, I know that's but
everybody says that about where they live.
But it's true, though. I mean,
yeah,
Tennessee is green as fuck. The Smoky Mountains are awesome. I mean, so we do have we have the Mississippi River on the other side of the state. So I mean, I guess I'm biased, but I mean, it's pretty cool. So right. The scenery, the food, if you take Southern cooking, which some people will or won't, but that's another claim. I'm just saying cultural things that are kind of divorced from, and it's hard to do that, divorced from kind of the racial aspect. I mean, Dolly Parton is a great example of this, right?
Okay.
So, and I saw a tweet about it, I think, where it's like the perfect example of somebody who cherishes their own background and their own history, right? Their own cultural, and even she probably knows other fucked up shit that happened too, and is still able to recognize another person's, same love in their culture or whatever, right, without hating it. So, I mean, Dolly Parton just represents the best of us, Cory. And she's basically the queen of Appalachia.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know. Anyway.
Okay. So that's good, except for the queen thing.
You're a little sensitive already about that?
Well, no.
Commonwealth nation?
We don't like them here. I don't like them anyway.
Why the fuck? Anyway. I should vote over
it. Yeah. It's a little ridiculous. Okay. So I guess we skipped over a part. I'm supposed to say, why don't you tell the listener a little bit about yourself and what is your political brand that you identify with?
Well, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee, obviously. As far as political brand, it's probably pretty similar to yours. I would say, although I don't know. I don't know. I just have issue with the idealism versus realism, and sometimes I just wonder if, and like I said earlier, if anarchism could actually work on a large scale. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around. I mean,
that's fair.
I could be wrong, but I just like I said, human nature being as it is, and some dude made fun of me, and he was not, friend of mine made fun of me about this. He put the big letters and the little letters, how the SpongeBob thing or whatever. Yeah, I go, okay, bruh, I get it. But it's true. You don't know. I mean, you rely on other people. I don't rely on anybody's. I mean, some people, but I'm not going to I don't know you, motherfucker,
I would argue that if there hadn't been the odd person who, if the system hadn't developed that created this exploitative conditions and these competitive conditions, humanity or humans are inherently social creatures that rely on collective cooperation. And even in this exploitative system, most of us tend to cooperate as much as we can. That's my...
I mean, that may have been the case when we were still hunters and gatherers, where our lives depended upon it. Yeah.
I mean, you're a listener to the Behind the Bastards show.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. He did an episode on a series of calamitous events that like were basically like apocalyptic for the regions they were in. And the communities, despite having whatever differences they had up until that point, they all banded together and they looted stores together and they cooked the food and shared it with their community. Like stuff like the communities take care of each other. It's always people with power, like a military or or money or some other a police force or something, where they come in and they fuck it up. Like whenever they see people taking care of each other, they got to go in with their police.
I mean, yeah. I mean, again, I just don't trust people. I don't know. I'm not big on the human race. And don't let me say that out loud because people call me a fucking eco-terrorist or something.
This is being recorded.
Apparently, okay, I didn't say I just wanted part of the human race dead. I want all of it gone. So that's not the same thing, you know?
Okay.
Because I know egoterrorism is basically like goes hand in hand with like white supremacist shit or whatever. You know?
Yeah, there's like some serious eco-fascism and stuff.
Yes, but that's not eco-fascism. Yeah, so whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking.
Well, we're kind of just talking about whatever.
Okay.
But we are also I guess we're focusing on the South, right?
Okay. All right.
So, what are some good?
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Do you know of some like groups that are organizing down there that?
Oh yeah.
You might enjoy working with.
Well, the guys over at Dixieland of the Proletariat, they have a podcast. They're based out of Montgomery, Alabama, and they know some actual. They've had like organizations on from Alabama before.
Nice.
You'd have to go look at. I encourage anybody to go look them up because I had them on our show and they're great. You know, they promote. Although again, they cheat. See, let me just put this out there. In order to get likes on their fucking page, first they start with the memes and they suck them in, but it's like a bait and switch, right? You come for the memes, but how you send, oops, it's a podcast instead. And it's too late. I'm telling you, man, it's cheating.
That's what do you mean that's cheating?
Cheating.
Do that.
I've thought about it, but I have my own, dude. I have my own ethics and I can't bring my own code, bruh. Can't be doing that.
Memes belong to everybody.
Well, that's what I always
say. If you share memes, you're doing a communism.
Maybe. Yeah. Well, sharing anything, I guess, is kind of yeah.
They're collectively owned and you're spreading them around.
Well, I do that quite often. If anybody knows me on Facebook and gets annoyed by my memes. But yeah, I've talked to those guys and they've, like I said, they're based in Alabama, so I don't know too much about groups around. I mean, I'm in a DSA group,
Oh, yep.
And Nashville is pretty a blue place, right? So,
right, you're like actually in a city with other people who have similar philosophies.
Well, yeah, and that's why,
at least
neoliberal bullshit,
right?
Bunch of hipsters got to see the old ugly ass condos they throw up in every fucking. Go to Denver, it's exactly the same buildings, man. You wouldn't even know. You can't even tell the difference. They all have the same chain stores, the same. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So yeah, but as a general, it's a blue city. So for practical purposes, I guess, yeah, as compared to the rest of the state. So that's why I was saying Tennessee could be Georgia, and not in too distant future. Now, the problem with, and it's actually weird, Memphis is actually inverted, right? Because Memphis is a majority black city, right? And so the white flight they were all about some white flight. All the fucking shit communities surrounding Shelby County are all fucking rich ass white people.
Oh, is that right?
The bad kind. They're the conservative fucks, right? So I don't know how this went, but they were trying to make their own school system separate from Memphis because they didn't want to have to hang out with the icky brown people, right? So that's the problem. Nashville's is spreading out, which is a good sign, but then you got although they're not upwardly mobile rich people. They're more like, old rich people, so.
But they surely they have people that are going to carry on their name and their
I don't know. I mean, some of the millennials, I mean, they're getting more liberal as a general rule, so I wonder if it'll shift. We'll see. I don't know how it's going to work out. The old people just need to die. That's what it boils down to. These fuckers are holding us back. Why do we got so many old white men? Jesus.
That's fair. The trouble, I think, with waiting for them to die is like there's still a lot of like, I don't know about your area, but here there's still a lot of younger guys that are, or my age, that are just like, they're basically the same as the old guys. They're just 20 years younger.
Well, yeah. And you're right. We shouldn't let them die out. We should kill them first. That's quicker.
Drag out the guillotines and let's go.
No, but you're right. There are always going to be those type, but I would argue that that's mostly if you don't have internet access, basically is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why we fight it so here. That's why they want to fight it going to rural areas out here while these conservatives do, because they know if they get information, they're going to find out that they're voting against their self-interest, and they've been doing that shit for years. Right. Just because they hate black people, basically, is what it was. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. What were we talking about?
I was listening to something, and they said, like, white people will, they will dig their own grave over, because they're so afraid of, like, quote unquote entitlements, and they don't want to do anything that'll help themselves because it might help black people. And so their racism is ultimately going to kill them.
Well, you know what LBJ said? I mean, this is an exact quote, paraphrasing. If you can convince a white dude that he's better than a black dude, right? Not only will he'll let you pick his pocket, but he'll give you some more after and whatever. Basically, yeah, they will screw themselves just because they're better than black people.
Just to prove that they're,
it's
pretty fucked up.
I mean, it was good strategy, and rich people, all these plantation owners saw that the slaves and then, the indentured servants were getting along a little too well, so they couldn't let that happen.
No, can't have that. So what else is going on in the South? What other things are good that are, or is there, so you said like the podcast, but what about socialist movements? I guess you said you're the member of the DSA. I mean,
I'm just in the group. I don't really pay. And they don't really see, the problem is that there's not really a coordinated effort in the South except for Georgia. It's just a hard market,
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, like, we definitely need progressive parties, but man, they can't get a foothold unless they're like some kind of progressive messiah who can talk to everybody, and like he'll get shot. It's like every other fucking
right. You need a Fred Hampton, but
they always get killed. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. I find like in Saskatchewan, it's like, okay, everywhere that isn't a city, there's no chance of like starting anything. But in the city, everybody's so isolated and drilled into their own individualized little holes that COVID doesn't help, right? So even when I'm trying to like find other lefties to hang out with or talk to, I can only find them online. And even them, often they're not like of the same persuasion, or they're like hardcore tankies, or they're like, it's a really difficult thing to get off the ground is kind of, I guess, my point.
Oh, well, yeah. That's why I say though, that the internet's going to be, if it ever always gets the rural areas, it's hard to get because there's no infrastructure, which is what part of this bill is for. And part of the reason they're fighting it, because poor people shouldn't have information. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to get information if you're in an isolated area like that. What the fuck are you? I mean, I guess you got satellite TV and shit, but you could still get that. I guess you could still.
Well, they got satellite internet all over the.
See, the internet speed's so garbage. But yeah, but it's kind of expensive. Well, I don't know, not that much more. But the speeds are garbage. But anyway, So as long as we keep information, and churches.
Yeah, churches are not helping.
They make this idea that poverty is somehow a good, you should depend on each other for charity, and that poverty is good, and it makes you a stronger person. And if Jesus wanted you to have money, God damn it, he'd have gave you some, but
you would have it. Yeah.
So churches are just they're an instrument of the state, really, is what it boils. And they're all in bed together. Come on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one of the major things that America did during the Red Scare, right? They combined like America with Christianity and capitalism in such a way that anybody who was against either of those things was like ostracized, or they were tracked down and put on a list, or some were put in jail.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely ripe at that time with what happened after World War II, which did not have to go down that way.
Nope. No, it did not.
Been a lot better off if we just buddied up and figured something out. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't want to imagine a USSR under Stalin that was, amazing.
He was garbage. Let's just go ahead.
I don't want to put that. I don't want to pretend that he was a good guy.
Tyrant.
But yeah, like I see a lot of this Red Scare stuff, and it's so pervasive. Like that's where this anti-communist stuff came from, right? Like you don't have to know what communism is to hate it, because it's un-American, or in Canada, it's undemocratic.
Well, it's a buzzword. It's easy. It's one of those, it's easier than saying the whole thing. So you use it as a shortcut, even though it's inaccurate. No,
Yeah.
Just a lie straight up, pretty much. It's just bullshit. But as soon as you say socialist, people just get into some weird hypnosis. Evil, socialism, they might have to give their money to help somebody else. I mean, I know.
I had an interaction like years and years ago. I shared a Marx quote. I mean, this was way back before the left online was what it is now. And I had a number of friends who were like, oh my God, you're sharing a quote from this guy who's responsible for millions and millions of deaths. And they basically equated it to sharing a Hitler quote. And it was Marx. It wasn't even Stalin. It was Marx. It was just
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I mean, the philosophy of socialism and communism. Like I'm in a lot of online like Reddit groups and stuff for communism and stuff. And a lot of them are pretty hardcore state communists, right? So, I mean, I'm in there for the philosophy of communism as like all belongs to all and sharing things amongst people. And, but so I don't always fit in with those groups, but it's still good to be in there, at least because there is a lot of good philosophy going on with communism, I think. But,
I mean, I don't know. That's one of those things where like it sounds good in paper, but we don't seem quite to be able to implement it correctly, at least not yet on a large scale, or even I mean, if you think about it, communes. Like one of those hippie communes or some shit. That literally is communism, if you want to get right down to it. I mean, each to his need, something about his ability. I don't fucking remember.
From each according to ability, to each according to need.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever. Fucking communist. Fucking socialist bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes sense at some level. You tell somebody that, and I say that. You tell one of these cracker motherfuckers, I ain't gonna know what you're talking about.
No,
all they hear is socialism. That's all they hear.
It's funny. I went back to my old job because I had to, I guess. Yeah, bills. And right away, I'm talking to like an old friend who he had left the oil field as well, and then I hadn't seen him in like years, right? And he says, "Oh, are you still a liberal?" It's like, no, no, I don't think it's fair to say I'm a liberal. So I said, like, no, I'm actually like an anarcho-communist. And he's like, communism, like down in Cuba? I was like, well, no, that's a little authoritarian for my tastes, but But yeah, sort of like that, where like, you know, everybody kind of gets what they need and they kind of have, you know, the things that function society functions well. And
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem though, right? I mean, it's hard to find a positive example of communism in real world application.
it is, yeah. I keep having to go back to the Rojava example when I talk about anarchism and a style of communism, or what I think they identify it as an anarcho-feminist community. But yeah, Rojava is currently our most positive example.
What the hell is Rojava?
Listen to the podcast Women's War by Robert Evans.
I know he had another podcast. Okay.
Oh yeah, he's done a couple of them. Have you listened to It Could Happen Here?
No, I read the book, but I haven't listened to his podcast.
Yeah, he did that podcast about the potential for a civil war in the United States, and he went through a variety of possible situations that would lead to it. And his podcast, The Women's War, went over a time he went to Rojava and interviewed a bunch of people and like learned about their culture and their government system right now, or at the time, which is like, I don't know, a little while ago now, but yeah, it's where's the place where the U.S. just pulled out of and abandoned the Kurds under Trump?
Under Trump?
Yeah.
Did we pull out of Kurdistan? Or was it Syrian Kurdish, the Syrian Kurdish area?
Yeah, because I'll edit this out, but
we did abandon the Kurds in the desert or the fuck. So the autonomous administration of North and East Syria. Yeah. Syrian Kurds. Then we abandoned Iraqi Kurds already, so I guess we were going for another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So fuck the Kurds, one of our staunchest. It just makes me so mad. You know, we don't give a fuck, man. We use people and we just.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just horrible.
That's imperialism, right?
Oh yeah, there's other, but we just. Jesus.
America is currently one of the largest imperial nations. That's, of course, they're having the worst impact
everything bigger. Everything has got to be bigger. Yeah. Not only do we have the biggest military in the world, we have and what was it, the first 8 countries combined are like the same as the military budget, some absurd amount, right? It's ridiculous. I mean, It's just, we got to have just swinging our big dick all over the world, right? But your big dick ain't gonna do nothing if you're fucking dead.
Yeah, that's right.
We're gonna end up killing ourselves and the rest of the planet while we're at it.
Well, we're at 48 minutes. So is there anything about the South that we haven't said anything about yet?
One of the more interesting dynamics, I think, is, you know, if you look at like the Capitol riots or whatever that happened to the the crackers, the cracker, I don't know, fuck, I can't think anything clever right now. If you look at them, these are mostly middle class people, right? They own small businesses and shit. What you'll find is that the really dirt poor don't have time to fuck with politics, right?
Right.
And you'll see a lot of mixed race children more because it's the class solidarity. You know, when your survival is like your biggest worry, then you ain't got time for all the other shit on Maslow's pyramid or whatever, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, the poor people aren't really what's the problem. It's the middle class people that are the issue when it comes to electing these fucking idiots. So, I mean, the South is and the North, really the rest of the country, need to keep our names out the mouth. That's all I'm going to say. These motherfuckers want to talk shit, you know, like they know, motherfucker, you ain't never been here. You ain't never had no fucking meat and 3. You ain't never had no fucking grandma's mac and cheese, you white motherfucker. You know, get some spice on your food, bitch. You know, I'm just, you know, I could say fucked up shit about California. Jesus, that place.
It's
That's a lot.
It's shockingly conservative.
It's a lot. Remember that fucking Reagan came out of fucking California.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fucking crazy. You know, so.
Well, and how is Arnold the most reasonable Republican to come out of California?
California's must be all the sun. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. It's the wealth.
I mean,
it's the money.
Just keep the South. We ain't out yet. I mean, we, like everything else, we slow as shit. Probably because it's 1,000 fucking degrees during the summer. You don't want to do anything. But can you imagine what it was like before air conditioning here? Jesus fucking Christ. Anyway, so yeah, like George has proved, in Virginia now actually is already blue. So that's technically Northern Virginia is like DC, basically suburbs. So it's kind of split in half. But anyway, so it's going blue, but it's going to go a lot worse. In the red states, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets any better. Because they're trying to cram these laws down people's throats. Trans laws, anti-trans stuff, the voter suppression bills, trying to make the Bible the state book. What's happening? They're trying to push that shit again.
Yeah.
When I did the old show, we talked about this. Because this was like 6 or 7 years ago, they tried to do the same fucking thing. Like, stop. Can we not look like complete morons?
We
had Trump. Can we just not? Please? Fuck me.
And on that note, where can people find you?
Postmodernpolymaths.com, at Triple Po, at the Triple Po on Twitter, all the podcast places you can find it. Facebook. I have a Facebook page.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, folks, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to share the show with your friends and on social media. Thank you to everyone who supports this show on Patreon. Every dollar I get makes it so that I can feed my family and keep a roof over our head. So it's really, really appreciated. If you can contribute or want to contribute, you can do that at patreon.com/skepticalleftist, or you can send me money at paypal.me/brainstormpodcast. If you can't contribute financially, that is fine. A 5-star rating and a review on your podcast app of choice or on one of the podcast review sites like Podchaser would be great. If you want to find more from me, then make sure to check out my Linktree at linktree/skepticalcory. You can find all my social media stuff there, as well as links to my other shows, which include Skeptarchy, which is a panel show I do with some very smart people, From Many People's Strength, which is a podcast about Saskatchewan politics, and The Feminist Family, which I do with my partner. My Twitter is @HardcoreSkeptic, and my Facebook page is The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist. Or you can send me a friend request at facebook.com/CJBrainstorm. I do accept most friend requests. Thank you so much for listening or watching. And remember that the truth does seem to have a left-wing bent.